Hi, I'm Tasha with Pathways to Peace Counseling, and this is the final segment of our video series on should I medicate my child with ADHD? And so we've talked about parenting strategies, we've talked about diet, we've talked about screen time, we've talked about exercise and counseling. And if you have done all of these things and your child is still struggling with their symptoms, at this point, I would say it's time to call the doctor because sometimes the medication is the only thing that's going to fix it. And, my experience has been there's many, many parents who have tremendous progress with their children that don't have to do medication for their child just by doing all the other things that we talked about. But if your child's symptoms remain, in my opinion, I think that medication is better for them than unmedicating them because what I see in children is that they start developing a sense of failure. They feel like they are trying their best at school, but they're not able to accomplish what they need to do. They're trying to get it together at home. They're trying to get the tasks done, but boy, they forget what they're doing before they even get started. And they get so distracted and it's like, squirrel, where am I going? What am I doing? Like they can't slow down enough to get it together. And it's a chemical thing. They want to do good. They want to please you. They want to follow through and make you happy, but they're stuck chemically and they can't get it together. And so what happens is they start developing a low self-esteem and they start feeling like I'm worthless. There's nothing I can do that's right. Everybody's always against me. I'm always in trouble. Nothing ever goes my way. I don't know what to do to make things better. And then it can slide into depression. And it is just so sad to see kids in this state. And then, whenever they come see me, sometimes the self-talk that they have is so destructive because all they're hearing is negative, negative, negative. I'm in trouble all the time. I can't do anything right. There's something really wrong with me. And it is such a devastating state, but also your child's not learning the way that they should. They're not able to tune in enough to read at their grade level. They're not able to do focus on math long enough to accomplish what they need to do. And usually they fall way behind at school, and sometimes they even get held back. And then that can create social issues for them. There's so many different things that go into it that medicating your child can save them from having to experience a lot of those things. Not only that, but as kids get older, we talked a little bit whenever we were talking about screen time about the risk for impulsive behavior. So, highly impulsive kids, you're going to have to worry about premarital sex. You're going to have to worry about drug use. You're going to have to worry about getting called to the office multiple times in the school year because your child did something really impulsive. And sometimes, the stories that I hear, it's unbelievable the things that these kids come up with to get in trouble for. It's like, you did what? Like, what were you even thinking? And the thing is that they weren't, they're impulsive. They're just doing things without thinking and they're causing all sorts of trouble. And it's painful for everybody involved. And you can save everybody a ton of heartache by just looking at medication and going in and talking to the doctor about it. So typically, what I see is that kids will start on a low dose. And I would recommend going to a psychiatrist because they are trained and they are usually a lot more knowledgeable in all of the different ADHD medications available for children. Whereas your pediatrician, that's only a very small scope of what they do. And so they're probably not going to be nearly as knowledgeable as a psychiatrist would. And so they usually start children on a small dose of medication to look for any kind of side effects. And if they're having side effects, usually you can notice it early on. And if they don't have side effects, they usually will just slowly bump it up until the child starts being successful at school. If they bump it up too far to where you feel like your child's going into zombie mode, that would be where you probably need to call them and say, I think this is a little bit much. I think they're losing their personality. They're not really who they used to be. And usually doctors can scale back a little bit. So, and that is something that one of the reasons why parents are a little bit nervous about doing medication sometimes is they don't want their child to be, because I think we've all met those kids that are a little bit zombified from being over medicated, and nobody wants that for their children. So, I would definitely look at going to a highly rated, good doctor who really knows what they're doing. And, there's lots of options out there. There's stimulants, there's non-stimulant ADHD medications. There's the variety is a lot larger than it used to be. And so, but it is just absolutely sad to see kids who are so stuck in this negative mindset about themselves because they've never experienced anything but failure. And if your child is stuck in that, I think that the merciful thing to do is do whatever's needed to get them chemically right. And sometimes it's not forever. Sometimes once they get a little bit older, they don't need the medication as much. Like they mature and they learn how to cope, and that can help them out. But there's a lot of studies that show that children who are not medicated for ADHD are more likely to look at illicit drugs for self-medicating. So that's another thing to keep on your radar of, what is it that I really want for my child? And, do your homework, before you go in, be aware of which medications you're comfortable giving and which medications you're not comfortable giving. There's a lot of research that you could do ahead of time to kind of steer things in the direction that you think is going to be most beneficial. I hope that this has helped you make your decision because, like I said, it's complicated. There's so many different things involved with children with ADHD. And sometimes they don't need medication and sometimes they do. So, as a parent, nobody's going to know better what is truly needed for your child than you. And trust yourself to make a very hard decision, but know that as long as you're 100% in it for your child, you guys can get through it and it's going to be okay. I have lots of games and videos and resources available, so be sure to check them out at pathways to peace counseling.com.